Well. Would you look at it? It's back at it again. Me again. I'm here with YouTube Darkest Videos Part 8. Scary shit's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. The video just got uploaded. Let's get straight into it. With YouTube Darkest Flash more image showing. Following videos contain.
It was 2:46 p.m. when the ground began to shake.
Scared.
Knock it off.
For residents of Anagawa, Japan, earthquakes were nothing new, but this one was different.
Yo, I don't experience earthquakes, alright? So, whoever has, applause to you. Everyone has, alright? Applause to all y'all. Me personally, I ain't surviving that shit. My dumbass is gonna probably die from some shit's gonna fall off and hit me in the head. Give me a concussion, alright? Let's be honest.
It carried with it a violence that none of the locals had ever felt before, and by the time the shaking had stopped, everyone in the city seemed to be left in a momentary state of shock. This was especially true for the nearly 160 Chinese workers and students that had recently moved to the area, with most having never experienced any earthquake, let alone one of this magnitude. Of these workers were a tight-knit group of 20 women, who had recently been hired as trainees at a company called Sato Susan, a company that sold fresh seafood. And having been at work at the time of the quake, they frantically ran out of the building and stood in the street desperately trying to figure out what to do next, unaware of the fact that the real horrors were still yet to come. In Japan, it's not just the earthquakes you have to worry about, but the tsunamis that often
Yo! That's even worse. Yo, that just pisses me off. Yo, wait. Now that's just making me think. Hold on. Let me rephrase what I said back before. Every tsunami and earthquake person that has survived, applause to y'all, cause like how? Anyone that lives in Japan or in Hawaii, applause to y'all. The people that survived. RP to everyone that didn't. Anyways, back to it.
And usually, the bigger the earthquake, the bigger the wave. And given that Anagawa was right on the sea...
Bro, that's two sides. Yo, how big is the magnitude
and Sato
of this?
Susan was directly on the shoreline. These women were now standing directly in the path of an impending disaster. Thankfully, their boss, Mitsuro Sato, was well aware of what was to come, and quickly he yelled to the women to seek higher ground. But given their unfamiliarity with the area, Sato knew that he would have to be the one to lead them there. The group readily listened, and they quickly followed Sato as he led them up a set of stairs on a nearby hill, where they eventually reached a shrine that overlooked Anagawa and the sea. It was the highest point.
I just remember Japan has so many hills, like so many mountains. They should be fine, right? Right? Unless the mountain's not big enough.
In the area, and should keep them safe from what would likely be a massive influx of water.
Yeah, right?
And sure enough, as they neared the top, Sato's fears were already coming true. As the sea had drastically retreated, it was now beginning to push forward. And things were only going to get worse from here. But despite understanding this, it wasn't a deterrent for Sato, as once he deemed the altitude safe enough for this group of women, he then turned around and began to walk back down the hill, towards the slowly flooding city. The girls yelled at him asking where he was going, which is when he revealed that down below in his home in Anagawa were his wife and his daughter, who were now directly in the path of this unfolding disaster, and he was going to save them. The girls screamed out to him, begging him not to go, as things had already become incredibly dangerous, but he didn't so much as turn his head as he stepped down onto the street and disappeared from their view.
W man, hey, let's get W.
And it was at this time that one of those girls standing high atop the hill began to record.
Yo, where he at?
All my life, family has been super important.
Ad break. I don't know how to read tsunami footage. Yo, where is he?
The footage shows that the shoreline was no more, as the water had inundated the entire area as it slowly crept its way deeper and deeper into the city streets. The women were understandably in a panic, trying to make sense of this ordeal that they were now given a front row seat to. And as they record, we can hear them desperately calling out for Sato. But at no point do we see him. We just know that he's down there, somewhere.
So they even
and as the
capture
desperation in their
him?
pleas increases, so too does the fury of the water.
Don't tell me I see him getting crossed. Yo!
They could only watch as
I like how the siren warnings come in all late when the water's already in.
Anagawa as
But
the
it's not that
lead
funny, it's
was
fucked up
completely
still.
eviscerated.
The sirens should have been on a long time ago.
And by this point, they realized that there was now essentially no hope for Sato.
Yo.
It was at this time that the women realized that despite already being at a considerable height, it still might not be enough. And so they ran even higher up the hill, desperately trying to get out of the path of this water.
Oh shit.
And as they did so, they noticed something down below.
Don't tell me they see him. Don't, bro. Don't tell me you see him.
Standing on a rooftop in the middle of this massive tsunami was Mitsuro Sato.
He
The
about
building that he
catch
stood
up.
on was once a full 2 stories off the ground, but was now just a few inches above the surface of the water.
Oh, he's on top of the roof. He didn't even find his kids or wife. Yo, I don't know what I would do in this situation. Yo, what do you do in this situation? You're on top of a roof, essentially. Essentially, also that you're assuming that your kids and wife is also dead, since I don't see no one else here. I just see one man. What do you do in this situation? I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I would probably try to survive it out. And if the water takes me, the water takes me. I don't know. I'm assuming that my wife and kids are dead, so I'm already dead inside as it is.
The women again call out to him, this time even more frantically. But at this point, it was no use. And when the camera is taken off Sato for just a split second, we can hear just from the women's reaction the exact moment that he swept away.
Yo, he actually did!
The recording stops shortly after, and restarts minutes later, revealing that the streets where the women had been standing just moments before were now fully underwater, and the buildings that once stood around them were now reduced to nothingness. In front of them was a sea of death, and had Mitsuro Sato not led them up that hill, then all of these women would have certainly been a part of it.
Yo, what's his Mitsuyu?
The date was March.
Yo, W to Mitsuyu for saving those 3 women. Yo, he did a sacrifice himself, and he did a sacrifice himself, looking for his wife. Bro, that's even more fucked up. That gets me more fucked up because like I'm a family person, so like that shit. Damn, bro.
2011, a day where Japan had been hit by its most devastating earthquake ever, with it ringing in at a magnitude 9.0, which in turn caused the
9.0 was
nation's
that?
worst ever tsunami, as that day, 19,759 people would lose their lives.
Almost 20? Almost to the 20,000s? Yo.
with Mitsudo Sato being one of them. But against all odds, his wife and daughter were not part of that death toll. As it's been reported that they were later found alive and unharmed. The devastation that occurred that day is incomprehensible.
Nah, that even gets me more fucked up. How does the kids and wife feel now? The survivor guilt. Their survival guilt gotta be crazy. Did they tell the wife? Oh,
And all the footage of this disaster could warrant a place in this video, especially the footage of Anagawa, as you can see what it looked like before, during, and after. But what I found so interesting about this was all throughout this disaster were stories like Sato's, a man who risked his life to save 20 women that he hardly knew, and a man who gave his life trying to save his family, walking directly into the path of the worst natural disaster in modern Japanese history, all in an attempt to save the ones that he loved. And I honestly find it quite beautiful that afterwards,
beautiful, bro.
These women adamantly shared his story and made sure that the world forever remembered Mitsudo
Did they
Sato
tell his wife?
as the hero that he was. And of those 160 Chinese migrants who worked in the area, it was later reported that not a single one of them perished, which speaks volumes about the people of Anagawa, who so readily put others' lives before their own.
W community. W Japan, bro, for being united like that.
2 people found dead inside the home, and so far it's not known how the fire started.
Fire. Oh,
it was just past 5:30 a.m. on the 17th of February 2021 when residents of a small neighborhood in Georgetown, Ontario were awoken by the sound of sirens blaring. One man frantically grabbed his cell phone and rushed outside to record the unfolding scene, where he was met with a horrific sight.
Oh, fire.
His neighbor's home was fully engulfed in flames.
Damn.
It must have happened quickly,
How
as
old
by
the
the time
neighbor?
rescue workers even arrived on the scene,
in a hot
there was
pocket.
already little hope of saving the house, or any of its occupants. It would take hours before that blaze was finally quelled, revealing the charred devastation inside, as firefighters would find the remains of 56-year-old Christina Rirak and 59-year-old Andrew Rirak within the home's garage.
Yo, I was kidding about the aging part. I didn't know they were actually elderly. I take back what I said.
The cause of this fire was initially unknown, but quickly the situation was deemed suspicious when experts determined that the fire had started as a result of some sort of explosion that had happened within the garage where the couple.
All right. You want me to predict it? The wife was cheating on the husband. The husband killed her with an explosive bomb. That's my guess.
Bodies were found.
I don't know.
This was later confirmed by security footage obtained from a neighbor who lived across the street, capturing the moments when it suddenly ignited around 5:27 a.m.
Oh, this was 2021?
There was clearly something off with this case, and things only became more sinister following the autopsies of Andrew and Christina, which revealed that they hadn't actually died in that fire.
What?
And instead, both of them had been stabbed to death, with Andrew also being badly beaten. This fire wasn't started to kill them, it was started to cover up their murder. And it did a good job of it too, as the scene was now left completely destroyed, with very little evidence being left behind. But there was something else investigators thought to check. That's security footage. The camera had been facing the garage where all of this carnage seemed to have happened, and so they thought maybe if they looked back far enough, it could at the very least show what had led up to this brutal attack. And so they rewound that footage, going back hours and hours, during all of which the garage had remained perfectly still, until they got all the way back to 6:42 of the day prior, February 16th.
Yo, someone's gonna run up them. Oh my god, someone's gonna run up to them and try to rob them or some shit. Robbery gone wrong? Why was that creepy?
The film showed the moments that the couple had arrived home together inside of Christina's car, which Andrew had been driving that night, as he pulled uneventfully into the garage. This was the last time this couple was seen alive on camera, which on its own is disturbing enough. But as it turns out, there was something far more unsettling about this footage,
Don't tell me what's
as it revealed the fact that Christina and Andrew weren't alone.
Someone else was in the car. Someone else is gonna get out of the car. It's gonna be 3 people coming out of the car. Instead of 2, it's gonna be 3. Oh no. You just made me not want to have a garage in my house anymore. Cause fuck that. He hid in the shadows
The
like
footage showed
Batman,
a tall figure,
bro.
its features completely shrouded in darkness, almost as if it were a shadow, with this figure lying in wait out of sight on the side of the house, until right after it pulls the car
Bro,
into
that's
the garage,
creepy as
when this person
fuck.
slips in behind them. It's impossible to say for sure if the couple noticed this person or not, but it appears that they likely didn't, as they both start to exit the vehicle, to which the figure then ducks down in an attempt to avoid detection. Until the garage door begins to slowly close. Neither Christina or Andrew would make it out of that garage alive, as just seconds after this footage, they both would be brutally murdered by this unidentified person. The footage is terrifying and speaks to that innate fear in most of us, the fear of being followed, of being watched, and attacked in the moments where we least expect it.
They gotta have a
It's
Glock, bro.
paranoia
This is
inducing,
America, bro.
and made even more off-putting by the fact
Was
that
this in Georgia? I think this was in Georgia. I don't know if they could. I don't know what the
This
Georgia
clearly
laws are over there. But if this was in Texas, oh, you would have got shot up by that 50-year-old man. Trust me, you would have got shot up.
seemed to be premeditated. Whoever this was knew their schedule and had been waiting for them to arrive home in a
Pre-planned
place
is
where they
crazy.
knew they wouldn't be seen. But by this point, their motivation was as unknown as their identity. Following the discovery of this footage, bits and pieces were released to the press in order to get the public's help in identifying this unknown assailant. It represented a rare instance of a killer being clearly caught on camera right before committing a crime. But that's also what made this case so frustrating, as despite the video capturing this person, none of their
Can't see
features were
him.
discernible at all.
That's so.
Unsurprisingly, the footage didn't bring in any relevant leads, but it at the very least showed investigators that whoever this person was knew the couple, due to its obvious premeditation. Though when looking into both Andrew and Christina, it was clear that neither of them really had any enemies in their life, with the exception of one. Harrison Brown was a 27-year-old employee at a company called Rogue
When I saw Harrison, I thought immediately Dexter.
Transportations, of which Christina happened to be the vice president of operations, and during his time there, Harrison was known to be abrasive and combative, with Christina often having to be the one to reprimand him, leading to Harrison resenting her. It isn't clear how police were tipped off about this strained working relationship, but they had somehow grown suspicious enough of Harrison to pay his home a visit, and what they found inside showed that this resentment he had towards Christina had actually morphed into a twisted obsession. Inside, police found satellite images of the Rear-X home, along with the software on the man's computer and cell phone that showed that on the 12th of February, he had secretly attached a tracking device to Christina's car, and he had been tracking her movements for days, which is precisely how he knew when she would be arriving home. And as if this revelation wasn't damning enough, they would also find a broken knife in his garage that contained trace amounts of Christina's blood.
Yo!
It was obvious what Harrison had done, and when confronted with this evidence, there was nothing more he could say other than the truth. So he admitted he had grown a hatred for Christina because of the way that she had treated him at work, and he decided that he needed to get his revenge. That's when he purchased this tracking device and began obsessing over her movements, studying them before finding the perfect time and place to strike. And on February 16th, he waited outside the Rear-X home and snuck into their garage before attacking and killing them both. After the assault, Harrison would leave the home, where he began to grow paranoid about being caught, and so he returned to the house the very next morning to start that fire, with the hopes being that the blaze would cover up his tracks. Though thankfully, this didn't work, and after pleading guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson, Harrison Brown would be sentenced to life in prison.
As he should. Yo, killing someone over work, because you don't like them, over work. That's crazy. Nah, over work is crazy. But I've heard crazier stories, so I can't even say anything. Ooh.
I got a mail the car, received
I love officer dash cams, bro, because they always have the craziest shit that happens.
It's the eve of Thanksgiving 2015.
They never disappoint.
Police officer Patrick Feaster
Okay,
sits in his
Patrick. Ooh,
cruiser
Patrick.
parked
Okay,
alongside
Patrick.
the road in the town of Paradise, California, waiting for his first action of this uncharacteristically quiet night. His car was facing the direction of a well-known local cantina, which patrons were known to drive away from under the influence. And sure enough, as the clock approached midnight, the calmness around Feaster would be shattered by the sight of a car
Was he
speeding out of the
spawn
restaurant's
camping?
parking lot.
Was he spawn camping? He was spawn camping the bar. I think he was spawn camping the bar. This patrol contains no audio. Ooh, okay.
The car went unseen by Feaster's dashcam, but not by Feaster himself, as he took off, doing his best to catch up with the car that was now speeding down the road. And within a few seconds, he does.
Oh, it's gonna be a
As the
drunk
car
driver.
slowly comes into frame for the first time. Inside that vehicle
Andrew
was
Thompson.
26-year-old Andrew Thomas and his
Oh,
ex-wife,
Thomas, my bad.
23-year-old Darian Aaron. Andrew had been drinking heavily that night and was well over the legal limit, with his driving showing as much as he failed to pull over once Feaster approached him, resulting in a police chase that would only end up lasting just a few seconds.
Please tell me they were drunk enough to survive. Oh my god. Okay. I'm gonna say here, I am an experienced crasher that has been in a rollover. Rollovers aren't that bad. So this as long as it's not on fire. As long as it doesn't catch on fire, this should be fine.
As Andrew would drive his car directly into a median.
But when I crashed, or when I was in that crash, my car wasn't flipped over. My flipped over was like straight, like it landed perfectly on its tires, which I am grateful that happened. Anyways, that did not happen, so I don't know how this,
causing the SUV to flip over violently before coming to a halt on its side.
but they should be fine though, cause like, you know, like once you drink, your body gets loosened up, and like that's just the thing, that it gives you like a more chance of survival rate. That's why drunk drivers survive during the crash. Mostly.
In that instant, Darian was ejected from the vehicle, being thrown straight through the windshield and landing onto the asphalt.
Oh shit!
Where, despite still being alive, her injuries were likely unsurvivable. But Andrew, on the other hand, was still inside the vehicle, and he seemed to have been left relatively unharmed.
Well, yeah, because she didn't have her
Perhaps being boosted
seatbelt.
by adrenaline, he quickly tried to crawl his way out of the car in a desperate attempt to check on Darian, with Officer Feaster's
Oh, I thought he
dashcam
was gonna run
capturing
away.
the entire ordeal.
I thought he was gonna
Though
try to
just
run
as
away.
Andrew attempted to do so, we see Feaster step into the frame, where he suddenly draws his gun and, without saying a single word, fires 2 shots at Andrew, with one of the bullets appearing to strike him, causing his body to go limp as he falls back into the car. It happened in a literal instant.
Patrick, no. I was gonna refrain from calling you any fat jokes, any mean names, you know. But never mind, Patrick fucking Star. Fat fuck. Why the fuck did you kill? Okay, I know they were drunk drivers. I know they crashed and they could have harmed people. They only harmed themselves, which seems like it. Why? Okay, they better give me the best. They better give me a damn. They're gonna give me the shittiest explanation. This Patrick motherfucker. I already know this Patrick motherfucker is gonna give me the worst explanation why he shot him.
So fast that it's clear Feaster had most likely accidentally discharged his weapon, as there was no attempt at communication before the shot was fired, with Andrew clearly posing no risk to him, as both of his hands were being used to hoist himself up.
So why did you shoot
From the
him?
footage, this all seems to be a horrible accident, and
What
one
do
that
you mean
Feaster seemed to
accident?
recognize right away, as he rushed up to the car, pointing his flashlight at the man that he had just shot, staring at him for over 10 seconds, trying to make sense of what he had just done, before he finally snaps out of it, and uses his radio to call for backup. Though this is when this already dark video starts to become much more disturbing.
What does he do now?
I've got an unresponsive female. I got a male in the car refusing to get out.
When Feaster makes this call, he never mentions
Oh my god, Patrick's a dick. Oh my god, Patrick's a dick. Oh my god, this fat. Okay, refrain from the
shooting,
from the
and
mean
instead
jokes.
he states that the driver was refusing to get out of the vehicle.
Yo, this pissed me off.
This is then followed by Feaster walking
And then police officers wonder why we discriminate so much, or we say things to them, because we see videos like this. This does not help their case.
Walking away from the man and pointing his flashlight to the ground.
Cause
almost
why?
As if he was looking
Why
for
you
something.
lying? This does not help you. There's recordings
Copy,
now.
keep your cross on Black
You
Olive.
can't lie your way out of this anymore.
Copy, Black Olive and Pearson.
In the modern day, you
With
can't
some
really lie
theorizing
your
that
way
he was
out of
looking
this
for his shell
anymore.
casings. Though
Like-
right then, another officer arrives on the scene and begins to survey the wreckage.
Just her?
No, there's a male in the car refusing to get out.
Fusing. You didn't see
Where, again,
the shot.
Feaster says that Andrew was refusing to get out of the car, making no mention of the fact that he had
that you
just shot him.
shot the motherfucker.
It's
Bro, that
clear at
pisses
this
me
point
off.
what Feaster was trying to do. He was trying to cover up his accident. But this suddenly became more difficult when Andrew started to speak.
Okay, they got one. He's refusing to get out. Get out of the car, sir. You're not shot, sir. Get out of the car.
They're not shot.
Andrew Thomas was still alive and had muttered to Feaster that he had been shot. But even to his face, Feaster denies it. Shortly
Wait,
after,
wait. This motherfucker said. Hold on.
he had been shot. But Andrew Thomas
Get out of the car, sir. You're not shot.
Get out of the car, sir. You're not shot, sir. Get out of the car. Yo, if I see this boy in the streets, I'm slapping the shit out of him. I'm slapping the shit out of him.
Sir, get out
Because
of
what
the
the
car.
fuck?
Andrew
You're
Thomas
not
was still
shot
alive
after you just shot
and had
him.
muttered to Feaster that he had been shot.
Like,
but
why
even
you
to his
li-
face, Feaster denies it. Shortly
lying?
after, Andrew then tries to tell the other cop what had happened.
Sir, I saw you to come out of the car, but the car is still on, and I don't want you to get hurt.
Behind him.
What do you think of that spot?
Yeah, I was right there. I saw it.
He is shot.
Did you get shot at the cantina?
No, he shot him.
Who shot you?
That boy.
The cop did not shoot you.
But understandably, this other cop wasn't believing him, as surely Feaster would have said something at this point. And so the minutes start to pass. And after 5 full minutes,
Yo.
Feaster continues processing the scene
Yo,
like
I
nothing
want-
had happened, with the other officer
I want to see his face when they find out that he's the one that shot him.
being left to
Oh my
theorize
God.
that Andrew must have been seriously injured and was likely in a state of shock, which is why he was making all of these strange claims about being shot.
He may be hurt in there. Yeah, I know he is. He's in shock at the very least.
From here, the footage cuts, and we're only left with the audio from that same officer's body cam, as he attempts to get more information from Andrew.
Sir, I need you to talk to me so I know you're okay. Sir, take a look at me.
Whose body cam is this?
Did
it
you
just
bump
says-
your head?
But by this point,
Is this
he'd gone
Patrick's?
completely silent.
Don't tell me he actually died.
10 minutes later, the footage then cuts back on,
Yo.
this time to another officer's body cam, which shows that an ambulance had now finally arrived on the scene, with medics first directing their attention to Darian, who was in the worst shape, as she would tragically be pronounced dead shortly after.
RB.
But despite all of these first responders on the scene, none of them had any idea that the man inside that vehicle had just been shot, and shot by one of their colleagues. And in these moments,
And
Andrew
no
was
one-
slowly losing his life as each minute passed.
No one.
It would take 11 full minutes before Feaster finally confessed.
Sir, you hold this scene, Manny, with me. We're going over to the cantina to find out if this guy...
Take a shot at him. I wasn't even pointing at him. The gun could go off.
saying that he might have shot the man, but he wasn't sure. And immediately after saying this,
Oh my...
And then they start.
the recording is stopped,
Could they
and
stop
the
the?
footage comes to an end. Sure enough, in that moment, Officer Patrick Feaster had in fact shot Andrew Thomas, with a bullet striking him directly in the neck. And the
11 minutes. 11 minutes. He was in that fucking car. 11 fucking minutes. Oh my god. Oh my god. Even longer. He got shot in the neck? I thought he got shot in the abdomen. He said abdomen, didn't he? I thought. The neck.
The reason why he wasn't getting out of his vehicle was because that gunshot had left him fully paralyzed from the neck down. His condition was awful, and made worse by the length of time that it took for him to receive proper treatment. And despite fighting for weeks, Andrew Thomas would lose his life less than 1 month later due to that gunshot wound. Afterwards, Feaster admitted that he
That
did
pissed
fire
me
his
off.
gun, but
That
claimed that
pissed
in the
me off.
moment he wasn't actually sure if he had hit Andrew. But many found this hard to believe, as his gun clearly goes off while he's pointing it at
And then you see the man fall down. Like, you can't say that he didn't get hit and you didn't. Bro, Why do cops lie?
Andrew, and he clearly gets a good view of him immediately after the fact. Not to mention the fact that Andrew literally told him over and over again that he was shot. But for many, by far the most incriminating moment was when Feaster appeared to be looking for his shell casings. And because of his actions, Officer Patrick Feaster would be found guilty of manslaughter and receive a prison sentence of 180 days. A decision that was heavily contested but ultimately upheld. And while no one is defending
180 days? If you didn't say, I would get it if you didn't say years, obviously, because it's years. If you said months, that would have made more sense. Like a couple months. Days? That's not even a year. That's not even a year, though. That's not even a year, though.
Andrew Thomas's decision to drink and drive that night, Feaster's use of deadly force, and his blatant attempt at covering it up make this footage harrowing nonetheless.
Yo, I thought I was gonna say W Patrick for being a W cop. I thought you were gonna save those people. Or I thought like a fire was gonna happen. No, that motherfucker shot him. Damn, bro.
For real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me?
Young
I got proof
QC give
It's
back.
May 2013.
Gives back.
23-year-old Quamaine Wilson arrives at his local bank in Chicago, Illinois to deposit $20,000 cash, which he planned on giving out to groups of his
that
most
money.
adoring fans.
Man, about to go get this $1,000 out for the fans, man. Really, I'm gonna take out 20,000, man.
He a
Just to
YouTuber or
show
what?
people, you feel me? I'm on a whole different level with this.
To this point, Quamaine had carved out a respectable following on
nice,
his YouTube
nice.
channel, where he acted in a series called The Nick Story.
I'm gonna worry out your mouth, and that's your ass, that's your life. I'm gonna take it myself and put it in my graveyard with the rest of them.
Along with posting music he made under the
Ooh,
name
okay.
Young QC.
Okay, that makes sense because I saw 17 videos. I was like, 17 videos and 117 subscribers, K subscribers. Nah, okay, that makes sense.
But not until she's
I don't know if it's copyrighted.
Based on his viewership
Nick Story
alone,
episode
his success was apparent, and he wasn't shy about showing off the wealth that he claimed to have accrued as a result of it, posting photos and videos of himself flaunting large amounts of cash across his
He's gonna
social
get
media
robbed.
pages.
He's gonna
But
get
this
robbed.
video was by far his most boastful yet, as he would take that $20,000 and
robbed.
throw it into the air for all of his fans to fight over.
Oh. Yo, they're gonna start shooting up the place. They're gonna start shooting up the place.
With Quamaine clearly relishing in the opportunity to show off his riches, despite the fact that behind the scenes, things weren't quite as they seemed.
What do you mean?
The truth was, Quamaine had actually earned very little from his channel despite its viewership, with this being on account of his videos containing copywritten music, and the fact that he only had a dozen or so uploads. In fact, his social media flexing had started well before he even made his first video, as in reality, all of this money was coming straight from his mother, Yolanda Holmes. Having started a successful business in Chicago, Yolanda made a great living for herself and Quamaine. And being her only son, Quamaine was given just about anything he could have asked for. She would buy him designer clothes, jewelry.
Bro, so he's a fake rap, bro. He's a fake maker, bro. He's a fake getter, bro. He's a fake get the bag, bro. He's a fake, bro. God damn it.
And
Okay.
even the Mustang scene in this video.
So your mama bought all of that? Yo, I know damn well my mama ain't gonna buy any of that shit, bro. My mama will smack the shit out of me if she thinks that I'll ask her for any of that, bro. The fuck?
But for Quamaine, it never seemed to be enough. He wanted to achieve a life of fame and riches, and he used his mother's finances to sell the illusion that he already had.
This
asking
boy's a wannabe 6'9", bro. Wannabe 6'9".
her again and again to purchase him things that could help him sell this dream, until one day, it all came crashing down when Yolanda would tragically lose her life. Just like that, Quamaine's entire support system had fallen out beneath his feet, leaving him without his mother and without the provider who was funding his entire life. But
Wait,
strangely,
you could
this
take the
didn't
business.
seem to stop his lavish online presence. In fact, his spending only seemed to increase after this, as this footage of him giving away money to fans actually took place after the death of his mother. which became extremely off-putting for law enforcement, as Yolanda hadn't simply passed away, and instead, she had been brutally murdered.
This boy killed his mama? For some dough? For being a fake rich boy? That's diabolical. Yo, you're in a fake persona, bro. It's not even your money.
Quamain had learned something shortly before Yolanda's passing, that not only were his mother's savings entirely willed to him, but she had also taken out 2 life insurance policies, in which he was the sole beneficiary. And despite Yolanda giving him anything that he could have asked for, it seemed that by this point, Quamain had simply grown tired of having to ask. And so, on September 2nd, 2012, he would offer his friend Eugene Spencer $3,500 to kill his own mother. Eugene accepted the offer, and that night he would travel to the apartment of Yolanda Holmes late at night, where he entered her room and shot her multiple times as she slept. At the time, her boyfriend had been sleeping next to her, and despite jumping up and doing his best to fight off the attacker, Eugene would eventually beat him unconscious before fleeing the scene. Eugene would call Quamain immediately after the attack to tell him that the job was done, but rather than feeling any sort of guilt, Quamain instead had no emotion, and he simply stated, "Make sure the bitch is dead." And so Eugene went back up to that unit, this time brandishing a knife, and repeatedly stabbed Yolanda until he was absolutely certain she was the And with that, Quamain Holmes...
And the boyfriend just knocked out? The boyfriend's just knocked out on the side of the bed just while the other guy's just stabbing? What the fuck?
...was a rich man, and it only cost him the life of his own mother.
But you were already getting your money,
For a moment, the crime had worked perfectly. The police were left with no concrete leads as to who might have killed Yolanda.
You was getting
and the
your
public
money,
largely
though.
believed that it was her boyfriend, whom Eugene had knocked unconscious.
Damn.
But no one even thought to look at Quamain. And recognizing that he was in the clear, his behavior grew brazen almost immediately.
Quamain Wilson lost his mother to gun violence on November 14th.
My mother, she was a neighborhood woman. A guy entered her home, and murdered her, just to steal.
As he went on TV to talk about his mother's murder, where he peddled the theory to the public that this was some sort of botched robbery, all the while he showed no emotion. He wouldn't even wait a full week before depositing the money, as he took out $90,000 within just the first few days, and immediately began showing it off to his followers.
90K.
And in this footage, where he gave away that $20,000, throwing it into the air as if it meant nothing to him, every cent of that had come from the death of his own mother, a death in which he was entirely responsible for. It would take over a full year for Quamain and Eugene to be caught, with police largely being tipped off by his online antics. And in the end, Eugene was given a 100-year prison sentence, while Quamain received 99 years, with his legacy now permanently defined by his creation of one of YouTube's darkest videos.
Yo, that wasn't even a dark video. That's just... You had to look deeper in within that video just to know the context of that video. Yo. Give it up to this man. Give it up to Nick County for giving me the best content, because I just eat this shit up because this shit's just amazing. Like, subscribe. Bro, what?